In case you don't know, the Birds go to training camp in 12 days. All right, this thing's barreling toward us. All right, barreling toward us. And it kind of feels like, obviously it's been a little dormant. You always have this 6-week stretch after an OTA and before training camp begins, but it's coming up fast. And what is coming up is an incredibly consequential season for the head coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni. I would say rarely in Philadelphia sports has there been this combination of two things. Championship aspirations, like where it's legitimate. Like it's not, hey, I got a 500-ish team and I hope I can, punch my way to a title. Like, no, you really have a shot. The odds makers say you really have a true shot to win a championship. But there is just tremendous consternation in town about whether the head coach is good enough. Clearly in the Andy Reid era, particularly the back end, that reality existed. Where you had a team that had a shot to win a title. But, man, there were a lot of people out on Andy Reid. There were a lot of people in on Andy Reid. There were a lot of people confused about Andy Reid. It's not often you have this much confusion about a head coach with championship aspirations. And one, by the way, I'd say, if I had to guess, where more people are out than in on the head coach. Now, we know after last season and after the collapse, the two people whose votes matter most, and frankly, the only two people whose votes matter, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, they chose to keep him. A lot of people didn't like it. We had a poll right after the season. 71% of people wanted to see Sirianni canned. They stood by their man. And so here we go in 12 days. They get to training camp with Nick Sirianni, and it's his job to, do it. I'll ask everyone today at 215-592-9494, where do you stand on Nicholas Sirianni as the Eagles head coach? Is he the dude? Like, is Sirianni the guy? Do you believe in him? Are you happy he's the Eagles coach? If you're confused, and I kind of tend to think many are, because I'm kind of confused on Sirianni, do you lean in? Do you lean out? Jody Mack, Nick Sirianni, and again, everyone at 215-592-9494. This is a big deal. And by the way, no one will convince me it doesn't really matter that much who the Eagles head coach is because someone else is calling the plays on offense. Guys, this is the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. This is not a tiny matter. Jody Mack, where do you stand?
I agree with you on the importance of the head coach. To minimize it, I think, would be foolish. Here would be my question to those who are, to use your phrase, out on Sirianni. Mm-hmm. So what do you do all year? Do you not root for the Eagles? Do you want to be proven right? See, I said Nick Sirianni should have been fired. How did they keep this bum as a head coach with this talent going in? So you get out? If you're out on him, aren't you in least some way, shape, or form out on the Eagles? If you're an Eagle fan, you can't be out on the Eagles.
But no one's rooting against them. The question is whether you believe in them. Do you believe in them?
I believe in them enough, yes.
Enough. That's a great answer, Jody. That's a great answer. All right, let's parse that out. So, and again, everyone, you can weigh in 215-592-9494. Jody Mack's official statement is, quote, I believe in him, comma, enough. Jody, what does that mean?
It means that are there a handful of coaches out there that I would rather see coaching the Eagles? Yes. Were any of them available during this offseason to be hired if you had fired Nick Sirianni? No, they're coaching other teams in the NFL right now and or are retired. So, and Bill Belichick, no. That'll cut to the quick. Bill Belichick was out there. Bill Belichick was available. Bill Belichick carries strings with him that some I'm sure are real and some are probably overstated. Who would I have rather had coach the Philadelphia Eagles for 2024? Nick Sirianni.
So really? Then Bill Belichick?
Over Bill Belichick, yes.
That's fascinating to me.
Yes.
Because, James, you agree with that? And maybe this becomes today's Twitter poll question. James, you get your choice. Because Jeffrey Lurie had his choice.
I would take Bill Belichick.
Nick Sirianni or Bill Belichick? Rhea, where are you at? Nick Sirianni or Bill Belichick?
Nick Sirianni.
This is fascinating. I got to tell you, I know, Rhea, why?
I haven't, ever since Tom Brady left, what have I seen offensively from a Bill Belichick coach team? It's not been very good.
No, it hasn't.
And if you hire Bill Belichick, guess what? Kellen Moore's not your offensive coordinator.
No.
No, some lackey that Bill can
maybe
pull all the strings on
like that.
is your offensive
coordinator. And Jody, you don't think you'd have a better chance to win the Super Bowl with Bill Belichick than Nick Sirianni? And I want to repeat the question before you answer it. You don't think the Eagles would have a better chance to win the Super Bowl with Bill Belichick than Nick Sirianni?
No. Definitively no. And here's the only question that matters. Who's the better coach, Bill Belichick or Nick Sirianni, as per their resume? It's not even close. You can't even have the conversation.
Well, of course.
But we're looking at 1 year coming into 2024, him having to come in and take over and get relationships with all the players and be able to push the right buttons for this upcoming season. Nick Sirianni is 1 year removed from taking the team to the Super Bowl with a great number of most of these same players. So what they've done for the Philadelphia Eagles, Bill Belichick never done a damn thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni has.
Well, he sat Malcolm Butler in a kind of an important game. Kind of helped. Look, here's the deal. And again, all this at 215-592-9494 and where you stand with Sirianni. I mean, again, 12 days to training camp. This thing gets real soon. I'll say from my vantage point, I'm confused. I'm really confused. I'm more confused on this one than most topics in Philadelphia sports because usually, I know where I stand, and it's pretty easy to get there. This one baffles me. I mean, first off, Sirianni's record is stupendous. It's unbelievable. It's like Hurts. I mean, Hurts and Sirianni obviously, have just about the same record. Obviously, Hurts played a couple games under Doug in 2020. But, I mean, they're basically aligned, and the combination, the record is phenomenal. But obviously, everyone knows I've had, confusion and doubts on Hurts, and I have confusion and doubts on Sirianni. I would say that in the midst of my confusion, I'm more out than in on Sirianni. I thought they should have fired him. I was clear about that after the season. I'll say now I think it's a mistake they didn't. Now, look, I might be proven wrong. I mean,
so who would you have liked to see take off?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not. I wasn't involved in the interview process to answer that question. Here's what I do know.
Oh, come on!
No, I'm not.
You're better than that. We
what
speculate on this stuff all the time.
Raheem Morris. You think I know Raheem Morris?
We've never speculated on something in Philadelphia sports without knowing the inner workings.
No, here's the thing: Sirianni, the collapse was horrific. His antics annoy me. They probably annoy the quarterback. All right. The offensive play calling thing and offensive play design thing is a major strike against them.
There's a difference between those two. You got to separate those two.
I know there are. But I agree with you. And so, one thing that stood out to me is as last season fell apart, he didn't change anything on the offensive side. He didn't. And I thought that was unacceptable. Now, again, this is where it gets complicated. Maybe he didn't believe in the quarterback's ability to do other things, so he felt like, let's just keep doing the same thing. And we'll deal with major alterations in the offseason. Maybe that was the strategy last December and January. I don't know. I mean, I kind of tend to think some of that, but I don't know. So I'm struck on the negative side in a more profound way. I'm also struck on the positive side of Sirianni, the way it seems like everybody other than Hurts talks about him. I mean, Kelsey, it seemed to me, loved him.
Yep.
I mean, really, really went out of his way to praise him big time.
A.J. Brown's gone out of his way to praise him.
Yeah.
And tweeted out the picture, love you, coach, on his birthday and all that.
So, James, Sirianni, are you more in or out or totally in or totally out?
I'm like right on the fence, man. I also would have been fine with them firing him. I understood why they brought him back. I think it was more of an optics thing than anything. I think they didn't want to fire the guy who made the playoffs 3 years in a row, has the best record ever as a coach, all that stuff. So, and I don't think that's a great reason to keep him. But I think that there's enough talent around. I think Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore are really good. I think that Nick can succeed in a CEO type of head coach role. So I think they have a chance with the guy. But the whole Jalen Nick thing just makes me really leery about it. I'm really concerned.
It's a legitimate concern. We'll take your calls on not only Sirianni, but the Phils as well. What they did yesterday, what they've been doing this season, 60 wins now for the Fightin' Phils. It's an incredible achievement, not even yet truly at mid-July, although getting close to it. Your phone calls on all these topics, 215-592-9494. And are you more in or out on Nick Sirianni? Joe DeCamera, the Mac Man, Jody Mack in for John today on 94 WIP.